today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Late replacement Reina Tellez hopes to defy the odds versus Amanda Serrano tomorrow in Puerto Rico. Reina's boxing journey will soon come full circle. Tellez first took up the sport in 2011, while Amanda Serrano had won her first world title that same year with a second-round stoppage win over Kimberly Connor Hemby, now the undefeated prospect, will stand across from the 7-weight world champion in Serrano's return home to Puerto Rico. The 22-year-old from San Antonio, Texas.
Ain't that where Real Talk and Undefeated are from?
A massive step up in competition when she faces Serrano for what are her WBA, WBO, and Ring Magazine featherweight titles. On Saturday, at El Coliseo Roberto Clemente in San Juan, Puerto Rico. On DAZN, the title bout will be contested across 10 3-minute rounds. I'm extremely grateful to even be on this platform, but let alone fight somebody I watched boxing growing up in my career, Tellez said at the final press conference Tuesday. It's just crazy to say. I just think about it, and I can't fully process it because it's real. I didn't think I was going to be in this position, let alone this year.
Boxing matches often come together under different circumstances. Sometimes there's a lot of bad blood and a lot of rancor there. Other times, it's more of a business agreement, an arrangement between two independent contractors. That's what this resembles. Amanda Serrano is grateful to Reina for stepping up on short notice when she needed someone to fight, and Reina is grateful for the opportunity. Serrano was originally set to fight Erica Cruz, but an atypical finding in a voluntary anti-doping drug test led her to being replaced by Tellez on December 18th. For Tellez, it didn't take much thought on whether she'd step up to face Serrano on short notice. It took me about a day, Tellez said. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you just never know when it's going to come back around. I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's a high-risk, high-reward type of situation, and I'm grateful for it. Serrano, 37, expressed her gratitude towards Tellez for taking the fight on just over 3 weeks' notice. Thank you so much. Truly, from the bottom of my heart for stepping up, which shows that you are a true warrior, Serrano said. Only the best people who dare to lose. They're gaining so much more respect. I'm excited to share the ring with you. I know you're going to come with everything because you want to prove to the world that you want the people to remember your name. With things being this cordial between Amanda and Reina, can we really expect a war? I would say so. Amanda's not one to trash talk her opponents or talk them down, so just because she's so nice outside of the ring, she still goes for the jugular inside of it. And Reina,
of course Reina's grateful for the opportunity, and she's likely making more as a short notice opponent for Amanda than she ever made before, so she's gonna be in good spirits, and she's gonna appreciate the opportunity. But when the opening bell sounds, she's looking for blood too. Tellez last fought on September 19th when she won every round on 3 judges' scorecards in a unanimous decision win over Mayela Perez. Tellez will be in her first 10-round fight and compete in 3-minute rounds for the first time. Despite the uphill climb she faces, Tellez would be much more at peace, seeing things through, rather than wondering about what could have been. And while there was mutual respect and adoration shared between the two, Tellez believes she'll have no problem putting that aside once she steps in the ring. She bleeds how I bleed, Tellez said. Everybody does. I give her the utmost respect, but at the same time, it's a fight. I'm not going to let that get in the way.
Or making the weight.
Earlier today, the girls weighed in, and Amanda came in at her natural 125.6 pounds to Reina Tellez, who was just over by a few ounces at 126.8. They gave her 2 hours to make featherweight. She came back 2 hours later and weighed in at about the same, to which veteran boxing scribe Ryan Sonaglia said, I overheard some talk of haircutting, but her team was saying that she would try to remove the rubber bands to see if it would reduce the weight. In the end, she didn't attempt a third time, to which Amanda Serrano responded, my team isn't doing her like that. I'm not asking for anything. She's a young lady. Don't cut her hair. I'm not co-signing that. Give her more time or leave her alone. I'm not complaining. You have to be understanding of Reina Tellez in this situation because she didn't get the chance to have a full camp for Amanda. Perhaps if she did, she would have made the weight more easy. She only had about
3.5 weeks to get ready.
So it's not looking like she's gonna make it, and it's not looking like she'll be able to win those alphabet titles from Amanda. Not that I had her winning this weekend, because I don't. But what she can do to salvage this is put up a good fight. Give a good account of yourself on the biggest stage you ever fought on so that people remember you.
That's how you turn a negative into a positive.
In men's welterweight news, world champion Lewis Crocker splits from longtime trainer Billy Nelson. IBF welterweight champion Lewis Crocker is split with trainer Billy Nelson. The news comes less than 4 months after the Belfast man upset Paddy Donovan to win the belt with Nelson in his corner. The pair started working together in early 2023 and have won 8 fights out of 8 together, including the famous win over Donovan at Windsor Park. But now, Nelson has confirmed the split via social media. When asked about the 2026 plans for Crocker on X, Nelson replied, "Lewis has changed coaches. Lewis has moved on to a coach in London, so I no longer know what's going on with him, but I hope he gets a voluntary defense in front of his fans in Belfast." The ring understands he is linked up with Huzaifa Iqbal, who trains fighters out of Adam Booth's gym in Surrey. The move represents a return to Booth's gym, where Crocker had previously spent time training during 2022. It also comes as a surprise given Crocker's success with Nelson, who he has previously credited with changing his life. The 28-year-old, who currently resides outside the ring's top 10 at 147, is yet to defend his red belt, but promoter Eddie Hearn recently hinted that he could be about to face Connor Walker. Whoever his opponent is, Crocker will fight without Nelson in his corner for the first time since 2021.
Well, that's gotta sting for Billy. Even if he's being civil about it, you've been with this guy for 8 fights and close to 3 years. You actually got him to that alphabet title, and on the verge of him making more money in his career than he ever made before, that's when he decides to leave you. Not dissimilar from what we saw years ago with Gennady Golovkin and Abel Sanchez.
Remember that upon inking that landmark deal with DAZN and all the money they put up for him, that's when he decided to leave Abel. That situation, you can attribute Abel Sanchez for Gennady Golovkin finally crossing over, because in working with Abel, that gave him the angle. It's not just his style and what they were working on at Big Bear, but how he was marketed. Mexican style.
That marketing angle is a direct byproduct of his involvement with Abel, since he couldn't have said that before, but in working with Abel, it gave him that angle, because before that, he was fighting in Europe for a number of years, heavily avoided and under the radar. He gets with Abel, he adopts this Mexican style.
Little by little, it starts to take effect to where he becomes a more marketable fighter than he was before, in the way that he thanked Abel for that. And all the years of work they had together was by sacking him for Jonathan Banks, who I think didn't add anything to Gennady's repertoire.
No noticeable change. I wouldn't say that Jonathan, for all his efforts, made Gennady any better than he was already. So why did Gennady go with him? Maybe it was a cheaper alternative. Wouldn't have had to pay Jonathan as much as he was already paying Abel Sanchez. Fast forward to this situation with Lewis Crocker and Billy Nelson, and it feels similar. Billy got you to the belt. Billy helped to get you this far.
And now that you've got it, you want to sack him for somebody else. What motivated the decision? Is it that Lewis feels he's outgrown the relationship with Billy? Or is it just proximity, that the other guy lives closer to his house?
Well, it's easier to get to the other guy's gym.
So let's just say that the fighters are nowhere near as virtuous as some fans make them out to be. All the horror stories you heard about boxers being mistreated by promoters and managers in the previous era have given rise to the notion that they're not scumbags themselves.
Sometimes they are.
The general feeling that the boxers are often taken advantage of, when sometimes it's the boxers taking advantage. Lewis Crocker, now that he is IBF champion, has a good number of options on the table. The Haneys might want to fight him. Conor Benn might want to fight him down the line.
Connor Walker is in the running.
Anecdotally, if Lewis were to lose his belt in his very next fight, irrespective of who he fights, I might call that karma. That as soon as you got rid of the guy who got you to that IBF title, if you lost it immediately afterwards in your next fight, that might be the universe, and it would seem that the universe has a sense of humor if that's how it happens.
So we'll see what shakes out for newly crowned IBF champion Lewis Crocker.
In men's heavyweight news, you may have heard yesterday that ex-champion Anthony Joshua was released from the hospital after fatal car crash. Abuja, Nigeria. British boxer Anthony Joshua was released from the hospital, Nigerian authorities said late Wednesday night. The two-time former heavyweight champion and Olympic gold medalist was involved in a car crash near Lagos on Monday that killed two of his close associates and team members. Joshua had been under observation at Lagoon Hospital in Lagos while recovering from minor injuries. Promoter Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing said on Monday. The Lagos State Commissioner for Information, Gengba Amatoso, said in a statement on X that Joshua was discharged late Wednesday afternoon after being deemed clinically fit to recuperate from home. Anthony and his mother were at the funeral home in Lagos to pay their final respects to their two departed friends as they were being prepared for repatriation scheduled for later this evening, Amatoso said. Sani Gami and Latif Lats Ayodele were killed in the crash. Gami was Joshua's strength and conditioning coach, and Ayodele was a trainer. Just hours before the crash, Joshua and Ayodele posted clips on social media playing table tennis together. Earlier Wednesday, Hearn paid tribute to the two victims after the vehicle they were traveling in with Joshua struck a stationary truck on a major road near Lagos. Hearn posted, "Rest in peace, Lots and Sina, your energy and loyalty, among so many other great qualities, will be deeply missed. Praying for strength and guidance for all their families, friends, and of course AJ during this very difficult time." The crash occurred on a major thoroughfare, the Lagos-Abidan Expressway, which links Ogun to Lagos, the country's economic capital, at about 11 a.m. local time. Footage on social media showed Joshua being extricated from a wrecked vehicle while he was wincing in pain. Nigeria is the homeland of Joshua's parents. The accident has elicited growing concerns about road safety in Nigeria, where accidents are common and where response time for medical professionals is less than adequate. How long did it take for them to get Joshua out of that car, and how long did it take them to transport him to a hospital? The West African nation recorded 5,421 deaths in 9,570 road accidents in 2024, according to data by the country's Federal Road Safety Corps. Its data showed 340 more people were killed in road accidents last year compared to 2023. Joshua had recently won a bout against YouTuber-turned-boxer Jake Paul on December 19th, a fight he used to improve fitness in a bid to contest future top-flight boxing titles.
What is now in question, whether or not Anthony will resume his boxing career given the traumatic experience that he just endured.
Even if physically he is relatively unscathed, psychologically could be a completely different matter. And now the driver involved in the fatal crash could be facing charges for reckless driving after he also was discharged from the hospital. Days after the crash that injured Anthony Joshua and killed two of his trainers, the man behind the wheel has reportedly been discharged from the hospital and could face criminal charges for his role in the accident. A police spokesperson told The Guardian Nigeria the driver, who was hired for the trip, has been speaking with officials to share his side of the story. The outlet stated that he could be hit with reckless driving charges as a result of Monday's incident. The driver of the truck that Joshua's SUV smashed into fled the scene immediately after the crash and is now being hunted down by officials. As we previously reported, Joshua's trainer and longtime friends Sina Gami and Kevin Latif Ayodele were killed in the accident on the congested Lagos-Abidan Expressway.
So the driver of the garbage truck that was parked on the shoulder fled the scene, and the driver of the SUV that Anthony and his friends were in could also be facing charges. When you look at the extent of the damage to the vehicle, the immediate conclusion is that they must have been going very fast at the time of the collision, so fast that perhaps the driver lost control of the vehicle.
While Anthony only sustained minor injuries, it has everything to do with where he was seated at the time of the accident, the same side as the driver. whereas Anthony's teammates were both on the passenger side, the right side.
Seems to have absorbed the brunt of the impact and thus resulted into fatalities.
Members of the boxing community were quick to send their thoughts and prayers to Anthony and those who were impacted by the accident, including Jake Paul himself. Life is much more important than boxing, Paul said on X. I am praying for the lost lives, AJ, and anyone impacted by today's unfortunate accident. We have yet to hear from AJ. Per usual, the terminally online individuals have taken to wild conspiracy theories to try to surmise what really happened here, some claiming that this may have been a potential robbery attempt on the part of the driver, based on what little bit we know.
I wouldn't jump to that conclusion. There was an image posted of the garbage truck they slammed into, which allows you to sort of reverse engineer the collision. That if the SUV were going very fast,
They are on an expressway.
hypothetically speaking, the driver of the SUV is trying to get around a vehicle that is in front of them. If he dips off to the shoulder suddenly, off to the right, not realizing there's a parked garbage truck there, that's how the accident might have happened. In doing so, perhaps losing control of the vehicle.
Dipping off to the right so suddenly to try to get around a car that might have been in front of them. That's what I took away from the image. That's just me bouncing ideas around, because I reiterate, the brunt of the impact seems to be on the passenger side of the vehicle, the right side, where both Latif and Cena were seated. The bodies of Anthony Joshua's friends returned to the UK this morning. It's understood that the funeral could take place within the next day or so in London. Please keep Latif and Cena and their families in your thoughts and prayers.
It's a freak accident that brings to light road safety in Nigeria, the sheer number of accidents that happen in that region, as well as the response time of what are supposed to be their medical professionals.
You know that Anthony was not transported to the hospital in Lagos via a helicopter or an ambulance. It was a police cruiser that got him there, and it was only able to because Anthony was relatively unscathed. So just imagine if his injuries after the collision would have been more severe and he needed more medical attention than they could get him at the time. This could have been a lot worse.
Serious questions about the country's infrastructure and ability to deal with these situations, since so many of them happen in the region. It's a terrible tragedy. It's all bad, and that's the only real takeaway from it.
Anthony walking away from that is a blessing, albeit an expensive one.